organization outside of India for technology professionals. It was founded in 1987. Not a lot of people know that. It's completely volunteer run, and we do this every month on some topic. So today's topic is big data. We have a panel. Before we get started, I want to introduce Mr. Chawla, who organizes this place. You want to say a few words?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Welcome, friends. This is Silicon Valley Innovation Center, and I manage. My name is Shri Chawla. I attended the very first meeting which happened to form CEPA in 1987. So I was present at that time. Thank you very much. In this building, we have 20 tenants, and they are all startup companies at various stages. We have consulting companies too, who provide consulting in various sectors. We have educational companies. We have events in this building all the time. Apart from it, we have training centers. So any of you would like to have a space in our building, it would be, fortunate situation for us. This building has very good history. This building used to be initially in 70s headquarter for Tektronix Corporation. Then this building was purchased. Tektronix Corporation moved from here to Oregon, and this building was purchased by Applied Materials. So it became headquarters of Applied Materials. And finally, about 5 years ago, I purchased this building from Applied Materials. There was a company which was headed by Indian called Mimosa Systems, was operating from here. And this company got acquired by Iron Mountain. And after that, we changed this building name as Silicon Valley Innovation Center, and we have numerous times. So please enjoy this conference. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This is the first time we are hosting an event here. Most of our events usually take place in HP in Cupertino, which, as you know, has been taken over by Apple. So there's no way they're going to allow us to do an event there. I told you that we have these monthly events. The next event is on March 28th, and the topic is business model innovation, and it's by a very famous person, Dr. William Miller. It's a pretty interesting workshop. We are also going to have one workshop on May 6th, most likely in the Palo Alto campus at HP, and it's about personal branding. It's by this person by the name of Karen Kant. She recently wrote a book called Branding Pays, and if you are interested in personal branding for yourself, this is a very useful exercise. I'm actually going through this myself. It's very fascinating. So we will announce all of these on the website and over email in the next few days. So big data is big business, and judging by the crowd, it always attracts big crowd these days. So that's good. So I'm going to get started. Let me introduce you to the moderator, Priyanka Jain. She runs a company called Airing. She's also known as the analytics queen. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. She has a special offer for a special workshop that she's running in April. So I'm going to let her do the talk about that, and I'll ask her to introduce the speakers as well. There is a survey form that I have distributed. Please fill out that. It will help us figure out how to do better for you next time. Okay? Thanks. So, Priyanka.
Do I need to speak in a mic or?
I can use this one.
So I'm in 8th grade. I'm standing in front of 12th graders in their class. Mrs. Chadda, my math teacher, is standing tall next to me, is beaming at me and prodding me to derive the Pythagoras theorem on the board. A derivation that I just shared with her the week before, as I was mesmerized by this simple but poignant theorem, which is the sum of the square of hypotenuse is equal to sum of the square of the other two sides in a right angle triangle. So as I finish my derivation on the board, the class erupts into an applause, and I'm shocked. I'm in 8th grade, so I'm shocked. But I have an insight. I love mathematics, and that's something special. Fast forward very many years, I am a final year student in engineering, and I'm interning at my dad's office. He has a technology consulting company where he converts waste into fuel and that into power. And so my dad is an inventor, and we are in the middle of heated conversation at this second. He is talking about just his latest invention, where he has converted, he's been able to compact highly fibrous material, which was previously not possible, by some very clever manipulation of pressure, temperature, and dye orientation. It's amazing. His solution is simple but brilliant. But we are in the middle of this heated conversation, because as he's talking about his latest invention that he's proved out in his lab, and talking about the next conference he's going to be talking at and where he should be presenting that, I'm asking him, what's the implication of this invention? What percentage of waste is highly fibrous? What's possible now, which was not possible before? And then I have another insight. Although I love mathematics and engineering, what I love even more is the impact it drives. What can it solve? What business problem, what problem in the world it solves? So that brings us to today, and that kind of defines what I do, which is analytics. Analytics is statistics and mathematics applied to data to drive business impact. And so, and that is what I hope we will explore today, together more with my 4 esteemed colleagues here. My name is Priyanka, and it's my pleasure and delight to welcome you all to SIPA's Big Data is Big Decisions panel discussion. Let me quickly give a brief bio on my company, A-Ring. A-Ring is the only analytics consulting company which is vested in insourcing analytics. And what is that, you may ask? What it means is focus on one single thing. We want to empower organizations and individuals like you to turn those mounds of data that you see into insights. So we believe that data and insights are the right of every business professionals who is making decision. It's not to be left just to the data scientists and BI professionals. Individuals, organizations, they need to find talent, capabilities inside of their organization. And we help with that process through assessment and capability development. So let me ask you one thing, since I'm very focused on the folks on the professional side, and we are very focused on that, but it's also going to help us in our conversation. Let me ask you with a show of hand, how many of you are, and I'm going to ask you to kind of define your job function in broad categories. So I'm looking at folks who are on the data side, folks who are on the development and engineering side, and then folks who are on the business side, which is product and marketing. So let me start with a show of hand. How many of you are on the data side, whether you are a platform, development, pulling data, analyzing it? How many of you are on the data side? Okay, just a little bit up, please, for me. Okay, about 20%, I would say. And then how many of you are on the development and engineering side? You enable and code and development of the product. Hands up a little bit more, please. Okay, so about another 20%. And then how many of you are on the business side? You're a product manager, marketing manager, on finance, operations, and so on. Hands up a little bit more. So that covers 30, 20, 20. What are the rest of you? No. So anybody who hasn't raised their hand, can you just tell me what your job function is? What's your job function?
I'm a lawyer.
Lawyer, okay. That makes sense. So there might be another 20 to 30% who are in professional services. That makes sense. That's great. So one last thing, which I think Deepak was talking about, we have a week of learning opportunity coming up on April 15th to 19th for business professionals. Some of you raised your hand, and the data folks. If you want to learn hands-on analytics and experimentation, that's what we are teaching April 15th to 19th. You can find out more about that on aring.com. And also Deepak has sent a couple of emails in last week, and I will be sending another email tomorrow morning with a discount, special discount for people who are attending the workshop today and the SIPA members. And if any of you have a pen, you can write down that discount code now. It's DTD Week. It is in the way. Okay, great. So I don't have to. I'm like, I better say it right. So that code is it's a $500 discount towards that entire week of education, and that 5 days is a complete training for any individual who is looking to get insights from the data and drive decisions based on that. It's a complete training, those 5 days, and the code expires next Thursday. So with that, let me get to the agenda today. We have with us 4 very experienced esteemed professionals from business, from big data domain, as you can imagine. We have Samir from Orbitz, we have Nader from from Plug and Play, and we have Peter from Think Big Analytics, and then we have Narain from NG Data. And before I turn over to our panelists to start the conversation, to introduce ourselves, let me mention, what we will do is an hour of discussion, panel discussion, and then open it up for Q&A. Meanwhile, if you have a question which is burning in your tummy and you can't hold it, feel free to tweet it to hashtag Big Data Big Decision. Big Data Big Decision. Tweet it. I'll be looking at the stream, and you can also tag me at Analytics Queen, and I'll see what you're talking about. So with that, let me turn it to you, Samir. How do we do this? Share.
Are these live here?
Yeah.
So do we have to pick it up? Pick it up?
Samir, you and I will share. All right. Oh, there's one here. You can use hers. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Samir Chopra, and I work at Orbitz Worldwide, the online travel agency, and I oversee advanced analytics. So Orbitz Worldwide is a Chicago-based company, but we have a good subsidiary in Europe called eBookers, and also in Australia called Hotel Club. And I was brought on board to basically head up the Silicon Valley office and head up advanced analytics.
Can you hear me okay? Good evening, I'm Nader Fatih. I am CEO and co-founder of a company called SigmaQuest. We started what's called big data in 2001. We were in business of collecting data from every manufacturer of cell phone and tablets and so on. So take RIM, for example, Research in Motion, they do about 45 million phones a year. They used to, I don't know how many they do now. Imagine capturing every serial number, every test data, and so on. So talking about a very big data. We sold that company successfully to Camstar. I am an executive in resident at Plug and Play as well as USC, University of Southern California. I work with 4 really interesting companies, one in retail analytics, which we will hopefully talk more. The other one on sports analytics. These people are telling how somebody like Lakers can win against Celtics. The other one is the supply chain analytics, which I came from, and then last but not least on fraud analytics. Again, thanks to the credit card, there's a lot of fraud, and that data is very interesting to the banks because they're losing millions of dollars. Anyway, nice to see you all.
Hi. Is that working now? My name is Peter McKenzie, and I work for Think Big Analytics. We're a professional services company, and we're solely focused on big data solutions. We've helped over 40 different customers get value from big data. We have our headquarters are here in Mountain View. We have offices in Chicago, Utah, and consultants all over the country. We have a range of services. We do strategy, so we help companies do readiness assessment, understand where they are, identify high value use cases. We implement, we have engineers and developers, we do data science, analyzing the data, finding signals, and creating value from it. And we also do training.
Hi, my name is Narain Patil, and I head product marketing and demand generation for a startup called NG Data. We are a customer intelligence management company and interactive big data management company. So what we do is we offer data aggregation tools, whereby you can aggregate structured and unstructured data from different sources, and then we match the data.
Mic closure because you're
Sure.
not picking up the sound. Yeah, somehow.
Okay. All right. And then what we do is we match the data so that you can get a unique 360-degree view of the customer. And then at that point, once you know your customer, we offer a recommendation engine so that you can actually offer personalized product or coupon offers to the customer through machine learning algorithms. We are serving customers primarily in banking, retail, and media and publishing. And again, in these industries, we have most of the Fortune 100, Fortune 200 type customers among the 30 customers we have.
Great, thank you very much. So let's get into it. Big data, is it a hype? We'll start from you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, to me, again, since I deal with customers all the time, I talk to marketing people, in Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 type companies, as well as IT people. To me, this is not a hype. Again, I come from a background of application and data integration when I worked at companies such as BEA, and the business problems are still the same. People are still trying to get single view of customer, right? They were trying to get single view of customer even that time. Only thing is now there is a lot more data available, number one, and because of Hadoop and some of the open source movement, it has become economical for people to actually store that data as well as process that data. So to me, this is inevitable, this is not a hype.
So let me, I agree, I don't think it's hype. So there was two interesting reports came out. One was from IBM, which says 90% of the data ever created by man was created in the last 2 years. Stop and think about that. 90% of the data, right? And there was a presentation by Cisco which says 90% of the pictures ever taken was taken in the last 12 months. Again, pause and think about this. So we are, we're just scratching the surface what's happening. But before we talk about the hype, if I may talk about what I believe it's, what's big data? Let's talk about that, right? So big data to me is really three parts. Number one is the data itself, right? And data not only comes from databases, it comes from machines, it comes from sensors, it comes from language, it comes from pictures, right? And if you look at it, the amount of data that we are collecting is just getting huge. So that's the first piece. The second piece is what are you doing with this data? So that's the whole infrastructure, right? You have to aggregate the data, you have to synchronize it, you have to store it, you have to access it, and there's a lot of smart people which do that. We talk about Hadoop and the databases and so on. The piece that I am very interested in, and I think you talked about it, is the aha moment, right? Humans, we do a great job when we look at X and Y. We don't do a good job with 3 axes or 4 or 5 or infinity for that matter, right? And there's a lot of interesting technology now which takes this data and converts it into actionable information. So again, when we're talking about big data, I'm talking about all those 3 pieces. How do you collect the data, how do you aggregate, synchronize it, and how do you give the aha moment to the user which needs an actionable information?
Yeah, so again, no disagreement here. I think definitely there's more than just hype behind big data. Similarly, we've helped countless customers get value out of big data. So we're constantly talking about them, and they're looking at how to increase revenue, how to have better customer satisfaction, how to lower their operational costs. So it's definitely real, and I also agree. It's really about the ability to store and process much more data than a lot of organizations could possibly do before. And it's also around unstructured data and being able to get insights out of unstructured data that previously they weren't able to do. So I don't think it's just hype. I think lots of businesses are currently either doing it or they're thinking about it, or they're thinking about how their competitors are doing it.
So, is it hype? My view is yes and no. I'll explain that in a second. Overhyped for sure, but not all hype. Let me just go back to what is big data to begin with. Doug Laney, this is a name, in my opinion, he should be a household name, but he isn't, unfortunately. He was the Gartner analyst who came up with the 3 V's that we're all familiar with now: volume, variety, and velocity, that define big data. And I think he hit the nail on the head. I know you can disagree with any kind of definition. In fact, Gartner has officially 12 attributes now to define big data, by the way. And the user community is, in my opinion, jumping on the bandwagon. There's veracity and variability and visualization and all sorts of V's jumping on the bandwagon. But the point is, I think as long as your current infrastructure cannot handle the data, either in terms of volume, variety, velocity, then you've got a big data problem. It's as simple as that. Okay, so that's big data. And one misconception when people enter this field of big data is, oh, it's all big related. Volume is the big issue. It's not. It's more like you were pointing out, the new data types, the variety that really is the challenge. We have the cloud data distribution of Hadoop at Orbitz, but I want to point out something. Big data, people associate with Hadoop, but it doesn't mean you need to have a Hadoop distribution. You could be a small company that might have a problem of trying to figure out how to analyze unstructured data. You don't need a Hadoop cluster. In fact, there's a vendor called Datamir. Datamir, if you're familiar with them in the analytical space, they've got a personal edition which installs on your laptop, and it's a big data solution. But again, the point is, you don't need to have a Hadoop distribution. So, is it hype? Yes, I believe it's overhyped for sure. The reason being, I think IT vendors do not want to be left behind, right? So often you have this hybrid solution because we got to catch up, we got to keep up, and find some value. It's not all hype, because I agree that it's not a passing fad. I think it's here to stay. It's a technological revolution. But I will say that I think companies are getting disillusioned. The value has not been unlocked, right? So all this talk, I think the hype on, hey, this is going to solve magically all your business problems, that's not going to happen unless analytics unlocks value out of it. So definitely a lot of hype, but not all hype.
That's great, thank you. Well, I'll add 2 of my cents here as well. I think big data, I agree, big data is real, but it's also overhyped because it's a keyword, and it's a good keyword. We all want to be not left behind. But big data, in my mind, is a BI challenge. It's not necessarily an analytics challenge. When analytics is done right, which is hypothesis-driven analytics, you narrow the scope of the data you need anyways. So it is not necessarily a analytics challenge, it's more of a BI challenge. How do you store a large volume of data which is flowing at very high volume and which has very unstructured, has structured, unstructured data, photo, pictures, JPEGs, and so on. How do you store such? So it's a storing and rendering and access issue. It's not necessarily an analytics issue.
Can I make one?
I guess-
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to make one point on that as well. I mean, I think one of the things that's different with big data and being able to store large quantities of unstructured data is you're able to do the analytics in the raw form. So the process is quite different. It's not that easy to cut down your hypothesis. In traditional BI tools, you have to figure out what is the structure of the data, load it into something, do your analytics, and then find, oh, actually that wasn't right. Being able to store it in Hadoop in its unstructured raw format and do the analytics on that, it's just much faster, more agile, just faster velocity to finding the value in the data.
I want to add another view on this, which I heard actually this week from Professor Cyrus Shahabi. Had an interesting definition of big data, which I like. He says, before we had many small files and big analytics. For those of you who are familiar with MATLAB is an example of this, right? You give it little files and you can do some deep analytics on that, right? He says, in the other hand, look at Google. Google looks at very big database, but it does very small analytics on it, right? I mean, and by the way, when I'm talking about Google, I'm talking about the Google search, right? Now, these two coming together, where you're talking with a very huge amount of data. Like, for example, when we were doing that project, we were looking at terabyte of data a day, right? So in 2003, 4, that was a lot of data, right? And then on top of that, they want to be able to find the nuggets, so they want to do a very deep analytics on that data, close to real time, right? So that's really the difference, I would say, from a standard BI model.
That's
when these
great.
two come together.
One point, I know we need to move on. I just want to say that, all of us have been to a lot of these big data conferences and meetups, and there's a sexy appeal when you have companies like Google and Facebook up there, and people think of big data with that lens, and we talk of petabytes of data. But the fact is, most companies do not deal with the petabyte of data today. It's in the terabytes. So let's just keep that context also in hand. That's the point I'm making.
And the other thing I just would add, and we may see things a little bit differently, Peter, is that whether analytics actually doesn't start from data. It starts from understanding the business question, understanding what is it that the company is going after, the big rocks, and then figuring out what is it that you want to answer, and then figuring out what do you need to answer that. So in that context is what I was trying to mention, and maybe we see it differently. But in the spirit of moving on, we will have a lot of backstage conversation you can imagine after the meetup. But So I agree, and hear from you, it's just not a hype. So where do you, each one of you, see its presence most prominently? Which industry, which domain, which function? And if you could give one concrete example, that'll be very helpful. We'll start with Peter and we'll go this way.
Yeah, we're seeing it across a number of different industries. I think there was an IBM study recently that said still 50% of all the big data applications are around customer-centric, so understanding customers, improving the customer experience, upsell, cross-sell. I think that's. I think we're seeing that as well. I think it's true for financial sector, retail, ad tech. Of course, all the big internet companies are using big data. Another area we're seeing a lot of movement is in device analytics. You mentioned sensor data, machine logs. We helped a very large network storage company capture all of the auto support logs. And using technologies like Hadoop and HBase and Solar allowed them to scale to petabytes and be able to query the data in short time on events that are fairly recent, as well as doing much larger ad hoc queries across a large data set.
Peter, can you talk about one particular example where there was a business impact, a significant business impact?
And the business impact for this was it was able to improve the customer satisfaction. They were able to find out faults and configuration issues sooner. So overall, the experience was better, and for the company, it helped them manage their products better, as well as increase revenue.
Yeah, so for us, primarily what we see is marketing as a function, is benefiting probably the most. It is sort of one of the early adopters in most of the industries that we deal with. When we deal with banking or retail or media, segmentation, personalization, right? Being able to really get down to the segment of one, or people call it micro segment, right? And
there one concrete example that you can talk about?
Yeah, definitely I can give you a concrete example. So basically we are working with a Fortune 100 bank, and the bank, their challenge was they have a mobile wallet application, and the mobile wallet application currently has the traditional technology which provides the recommendation about coupons that the bank receives from different vendors and their products. And the redemption rate was like 2%, right? And so what the bank was realizing is they really don't know their customers well. Because one thing banks will tell you is they have a lot more data than Google can ever imagine about, right? Because they have the transaction history, they have credit card transaction, payment transaction, they have a lot of data, and they also have loyalty card information that comes from the vendors. So when you look at all this data, this is very rich, and now they have ability to economically process it with the technology that is available today. So what the bank essentially was able to do is they were able to get that 360-degree view of all the interactions consumers are making, whether they are going to the branch, whether they are doing transaction on the web, whether they are doing through mobile wallet and all that. And then based upon their purchase history and behavioral propensity, they were actually able to offer very targeted product offers or coupons offers. So for example, if there are 3 people from this audience, they go to a shopping mall, each one of them will receive a coupon for a totally different shop or totally different brand. Somebody might get a Target, somebody might get Tiffany's or whatnot, right? Again, that is because they are able to actually provide recommendations in a very precise.
Did it drive the adoption?
Absolutely. So not just they drove the adoption, the redemption rate, went down by 200%. Went up by 200%. So again, significant revenue gain for the bank. And then again, a side effect is when people are redeeming those coupons using the mobile wallet, they're also using bank's other products, such as credit card. So there is cross-sell that is happening, right? Very concrete business case, very significant business.
Great. So we've heard from on devices, on banking application. Let's hear from Samir. Do you have another different concrete example?
I have many examples, difficult to confine it in one, but I will give you, allow me 2. One internal to Orbitz and one external. The government, people don't think about this, but if you think about it, the Department of Defense is investing $200 or $250 million annually, by the way, on big data projects, be it facial recognition, be it visualization of all the unstructured data that they have. It's big. Obama, the campaign, it managed to integrate data from social media, from their fundraising efforts, and all sorts of data. They looked at clout scores, to influence folks, reach out to folks who have high influence to pass the message on. They built predictive models to see who on the sidelines would be sort of more likely to be influenced, and so on and so forth. So there's a huge big data involvement by the government that people don't realize. At Orbitz, customer service is a big area, in fact, in the industry as well. So what we're doing is we are mining the audio calls that have come in to the agents. That gets converted to text, and then we try to, the trick is to do text mining to get structure out of that text, singular value decomposition in the background, and you sort of fold that in, look for patterns and areas of topics that are of concern. We are also folding that into churn models to make the models more enhanced. So tons of examples, but you asked me for one, I'll stop right now. We can talk more later this time.
I want to talk about one which was we just saw the other day, which has to do with transportation intelligence. So transportation and traffic is a major issue in the US. $87 billion with a B is wasted per year because of traffic issues and so on. So, I want to go back to Los Angeles because I lived in LA, and any of you have been driving in LA, you know what I'm talking about. You are in 405 freeway, 2 a.m., and there's like bumper to bumper. So this group, what they did, they put sensors everywhere. They look at the weather, they look at the potholes, they look at the cars, and they found out that average Los Angelino spends 64 hours a year sitting on a traffic. That's 3 days out of a year, right? So this company basically is looking at roughly about 800 events. It could be weather, it could be pothole, it could be traffic, and so on, including abduction. You see Amber Alert, and they close the freeway and so on. And they came up with a pretty cool app called ClearPass, I think is the name of the app, which actually does much better job than the Google or, for that matter, Waze, which uses crowdsourcing. So again, here's an example of something totally different using big data that it's very untraditional than just marketing and other applications.
You mentioned driving. I just want to mention, people don't realize the whole automotive industry is also very much using big data. So my very reliable 1997 Camry, it was time to say goodbye, and I got my wife one of the latest cars, and then I was like, hey, 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles, you got to go and do the oil change. Like, no, it tells you when to do the oil change, right? So that's an example of actually big data being utilized in the automotive industry, or viscosity and fluids and all sorts of predictive stuff going on. So that's another area.
And one more I will add is Santa Cruz Police Department and also LAPD have been using big data to actually predict crime sites, and they have been able to reduce burglary by 20%. They've been able to reduce misdemeanors by X%. It's amazing. So it's amazing where politics, devices, marketing, of course. It was one of the early adopters of analytics and customer satisfaction. So it's very varied. That's great. So one of the questions I have is, is everybody ready for big data? What are the hurdles organizations are facing? Because big data is a big word. Everybody is trying to not get left behind. What are the hurdles people are facing, organizations are facing as they are going to realize the potential of big data? We'll start with Nader this time and go the other way.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue, I don't think data is the issue. Again, I see companies, they say, hey, look, I have like 80 databases in the company, right? So I don't think the issue is the amount of data. The issue is that it's not clean. How do you aggregate it? How do you synchronize it? How do you store it? And at the end of the day, how do you make sense out of it? So to answer your question, are they ready or not? I think it's here. They have to deal with it. I think, again, US corporations have been collecting data for the last 20 years. Now they're saying, wow, what are we going to do with all this? Right? So they have to do something about it.
And are there, Samir, as you take this on, if you can talk about one concrete example where you've seen big data fail, that might be another way to look at it.
Interesting. Okay, so the answer to your original question, are we ready for big data? I would have to say no. And if those of you who follow Gartner's hype cycle, you can go check this out. According to Gartner, we're actually at the peak, inflated expectation, maybe past it, and falling down to the trough of disillusionment and all that stuff. So that's because of the reason just mentioned, that people are not getting the value out of big data. Hey, look, most companies, frankly, are still trying to master and get their arms around standard, small data, let alone being ready for big data. So that's part of the problem. Integrating data across different sources is not as easy as it sounds. I mean, that's why you have companies like Clear Story Data, for instance. It's an up-and-coming one you can go check out, which is helping integrate data from all over. the business teams today are totally disconnected, right, from the IT teams because, again, they don't have access to all the data and getting insights. So yeah, I don't think we are totally ready for big data. Data scientists are lacking, the whole analytical labor pool being an issue. In terms of failures, so look, by one measure, most big data projects today, I would say, are failures just because they haven't been able to unlock the value, right? And hence Gartner's assessment that we're down, falling into the trough of disillusionment. Quants on Wall Street. So, that's definitely a big data problem, and it was very much at the center of the fiscal crisis. And the human element was missing there. So that's a failure, I would say, of big data.
Can I give 2 examples of failures, which is very close to my heart? Number one is taxes. I mean, come on. The government knows all our social security number. They know where we've been making money and so on. Why is doing taxes is such a pain in the neck? Why isn't it, I come in, put in my social security number, and 90% of the information is there, and I just say yes and no. So that's clearly a big data issue, which should not be that difficult. The second one is health. I just changed health insurance, and guess what? You go to the doctor, they have no idea about any of the data. You have to fill out the forms. They have to do all sorts of tests. I mean, come on, guys. We're living in 21st century, right? So clearly, health and taxes is a big area that big data clearly has failed. They have not figured it out how to do it yet.
Yeah, so in terms of being ready, it is no different than any other technology cycle in my mind, right? If you look at the numbers from Wikibon, right, they talk about $1 billion, $2 billion market today, and then that is going to grow to about $53 billion, in next 5 to 7 years. So again, just by looking at the numbers, a very small fraction of people are doing it. But if you look at the infrastructure and the tooling and the technology, that is available. The biggest problem we see is when we talk to marketing people, they're very excited about big data, but they don't know what to do with it, right? They really don't know what to do with it. They're looking for the right use cases. They also don't have any insights about what type of data their IT actually has. When you talk to the IT people, they know what type of data they have, but they don't know what questions to ask, what insights to look for, right? And these people don't talk to each other. And then there are not enough data scientists. So that's the problem we see. And then another big challenge we see when we talk to IT is they're very accustomed to the traditional tools. So they are accustomed to schema. They want to use query languages like SQL. So when the skills of working with lower level Hadoop or HBase, those are not existent. And that's where, I think the tooling has to be a lot more enterprise friendly very quickly, for it to take off a lot more quickly.
Yeah, and I think my panelists have covered a lot of the challenges. I think that a lot of companies aren't ready, and I think that's why they need a good strategy. And I think that all the challenges you mentioned, siloed data, not enough resources, not a good understanding of what the business value is or what the particular insights, those are all true. And I think the answer to that is probably having a strategy. Spending the time and the investment to actually look at and say, okay, this is what our current technology is, this is what our current capabilities are. Brainstorm and thinking about, what's the high value use cases, and then mapping it out. And that's something that our company does. I think if thinking number one thing about readiness is probably making sure that the business is ready. I think you're right. If you just go to the IT and say let's kick up a Hadoop cluster and away we go, yeah, you're not going to get a lot out of that, and it won't go very far. Talking to the business and say, do you want to increase revenue by 10%? How much will it save you if you decrease your operating costs by only 1%? And going from there. And of course, I think with the right strategy, it's not a rip and replace and let's do everything all at once. It might be we can set something up fast and get some value out of just a minimal little bit of a sandbox and go from there. And then you iterate. And then from there you can learn, you can test, and you can build on from that. So I think, yeah, it's difficult. Not a lot of companies are ready, but I think a good strategy helps to get you there.
I just want to echo something which is a very important point. So today, I think big data is a solution looking for a problem where what we need is at the highest level the right questions to be thought out first, and that is missing.
I agree.
One other thing I would also echo the shortage of engineers and data scientists that understand these technologies. And I would also like to mention that we are hiring.
One thing I would like to add, actually, what we see from the customers, first thing they tell us when they are not able to actually find the use cases, is they're telling us, help us get a complete 360-degree view of the customer first. Because once they are able to do that, then they can figure out a lot of use cases and what to do with it.
So basically you're saying one proof of concept, they need one win
Exactly.
to believe in big data and
Exactly.
say, yes,
Yep.
now I believe in it, I go for it. I think
And
one
build
of
on those learnings.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the biggest, in my mind, one of the biggest hurdle to the success of big data is leadership, the buy-in from leadership. Until leadership sees the value for it, sees the vision, because big data is a big investment. You need to invest in that infrastructure that is needed. So it comes from leadership, but second big hurdle in my mind, following very closely, is the talent, where as we've heard from Big Data, McKinsey Big Data Report, and others, that there is a huge shortage. And you are hiring, I'm sure all of our companies hiring. Alok, who's sitting out there from eValueServe, has been talking about how they are hiring. So everybody's hiring data scientists, as I see it. All right, that's good to know. We see that we have some struggles to fully realize the power of big data. Where does technology come in here? Where does technology stand? We'll start with you, Samir.
So allow me a few minutes here because it's a jungle out there in terms of technology, and there's going to be consolidation for sure. But I will speak to a few that I think are definitely worth watching and are going to succeed. So, for one thing, what's happening now is there's a focus shift from what was originally the storage and the scale of data to speed, right? Real-time streaming and real-time analysis, and a lot of these beta products coming out, be it Drill or Dremel or Impala from Cloudera. So there's definitely a focus there, something to watch out for. And then, because of the shortage of data scientists, what's happening is there's a mushrooming industry of firms that are providing this layer of analysis connecting to Hadoop. So, for instance, we have Karmasphere that's been around for a while. We have a Datamere. So Datamere is a very Excel-based sort of front end, and also has a partnership with Workday, by the way. So it's going into the cloud. It's going to be interesting there. Platfora is an interesting one that I'm keeping an eye out for as well, which I think is going to do well. The point being, these are all for Platfora has like split-second response times and very nice visualization. Visualization is key because all these, in terms of technology, what's really going to be needed is across the organization, the business teams, they need to be able to access the big data. So you need that web-based, very user-friendly front end. So Tableau is right up there. ClickView from ClickTech. TIBCO, and so on and so forth. So these are all players, a lot of partnerships that are building up with Tableau. Talking of partnerships, Hortonworks and the recent Hortonworks and Microsoft I find very, very interesting because it's basically providing Hadoop data to Excel, right? And Excel, as you know, the world uses Excel. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there because that really brings it to the mainstream. So it's difficult to pin down specific technologies. It's sort of across the board, but I would say visualization technologies, analytical players, and of course firms like Cloudera and so on are definitely leading players.
I'll pass it on to you guys. You guys are more of the technologists than I am. So.
Sure, I agree with Samir. I mean, there's a lot of technology out there. The whole big data ecosystem. There's a lot of technology. In fact, that's one of the things that we find our customers find really helpful is that we help them navigate all that technology. We're constantly doing big data solutions, and we're constantly evaluating new technologies come out. So that's a real value. We definitely believe Hadoop is core to a big data platform and strategy. And like Samir mentioned, there's all kinds of new technologies that are coming over the top of it to visualize it, like the Karmaspheres and the Datameres and new attempts at analytical layers to make it easier for the business. But we definitely believe that it's still the era of the project. The products aren't quite ready yet, and we still think that for companies to get value out of big data, it really is a partnership between the business, the analysts or the data scientists, and the engineers that are going to make it happen.
Yeah, to me, I see the landscape in 4 different buckets. The first one being the traditional BI vendors, right? which are using the structured data, traditional data in a batch mode. That's kind of one, right? They're starting to talk big data, but really not doing much with it. The second category I see is sort of the marketing tools, which do provide real-time analytics, but they do provide that on traditional data or structured data, not necessarily on big data, right? So that's kind of second category. The third category I see is probably another 30 different startups in Silicon Valley and elsewhere, which do big data analytics, but they do in, again, batch mode, right? And the last category I see is people who are doing big data, but they are also doing it in real time, right? And that's really important, but because if you look at most of the contextual information for an individual, whether it's social interactions or whether it's location information, all this information is relevant only for a short period of time. Because if you're not at a given location, that information is irrelevant, right? And so in retail context, that is extremely powerful if you are able to leverage that information in real time. Even MapReduce, it takes a couple of hours for you to get that information synced up, right? And so the real-time aspect and being able to do big data, I think that category is the one I think ultimately people will start converging, but that is kind of separating itself.
I just want to say one more thing, which is it's important to note that open source solutions are going to flourish, and they already are, and the whole big data world is open source dominated. And I want to mention some key players that we shouldn't forget about. So Amazon Web Services, the whole theme of moving to the cloud is just going to continue even more, and I think they just rolled out what's it called, Redshift, the data warehouse in the cloud. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then a whole bunch of, for those who are not aware, the whole NoSQL databases, they may consolidate, but I don't think it's totally going to go away. So you have like MongoDB, which has a flexible schema to support XML docs and JSON and so on. Orbit's using